Today is Monday, Parashat Matot. This coming Shabbat, we're going to read two parashiot, Matot and Masei. And the beginning of Parashat Matot speaks about the concept of a neder. A neder is a vow. When a person makes a vow, he has to fulfill what he said he was going to do. He has to fulfill his vow. The pasuk says, "Lo yachel devaro." He should not make his words profane. In other words, the statements that he made have power to create a reality. If he doesn't observe the commitment that he makes, then he's making his words as something that does not have so much importance, something that is profane, and therefore it's avera, it's a sin to make a vow and not to fulfill it. And not just that, a person should try to fulfill it as quickly as possible. This would relate also, a person makes a pledge to make a donation to a synagogue or to an organization. He should try to fulfill it as quickly as possible, because when a person doesn't fulfill a neder that is made, if he doesn't fulfill a vow a commitment that he made, that sort of hangs over his head, and could be very grave risks because of that. And therefore, a person, it's better that he doesn't make a vow than make a vow and not fulfill it. Now, if a person made a vow, he made a commitment, he made the neder, let's say, not to eat a certain type of vegetable, and then after the vow was made, he realizes that that vegetable is good for his health, so he wants to annul the vow. There is a way to annul the vow. We do hatarat nedarim. What is hatarat nedarim? It can be done in one of two ways. Either you go in front of a learned scholar who's an expert in the subject of nedarim, who can find a petach, which means an opening meaning like maybe there's some information you didn't have before. Had you known before you made that vow not to eat that vegetable, that vegetable is something good for your health, would you have done the vow? Would you have made the vow? Oh no, I wouldn't have made the vow. Okay, so the vow is cancelled. So that could be done in front of one learned scholar who's an expert in the field of annulment of vows. Or it could be done in front of a court, quote unquote, a court of three people, even though they're not experts on the subject of vows, and by them making the statement that the vow is annulled and void, that statement becomes annulled and void as if it never existed. So that's a sort of a power of the mouth that Hashem gave to each person to create a reality through a statement, but Hashem gave also the power to three fellow Jews sitting together and making a statement that that vow is annulled, and that vow becomes null and void. The Torah also tells us about other situations where a father of a girl, let's say, who's between the age of 12 and 12 years and 6 months, she's called a ne'ara at that point. Her father can also cancel her vow, and he says that the vow is not valid, and that will be also a way of canceling the vow. Also, the Torah tells us that a husband is allowed to nullify, to void a vow of his wife on the day that he heard it, on matters that have to do between them, that has an impact on them as a couple, that has an impact on him in terms of that vow that she made. And he has the power also to annul her vow, but on the day that he heard it, and he cannot decide after he heard it a week later to cancel the vow. But this idea of making a vow, the importance of fulfilling what a person says, is a very, very important concept in Judaism. We give a lot of importance to the power of speech, to the point that when a person makes a statement that he's going to do something, that he's going to refrain from eating something, that he's making a vow, that vow becomes a commitment that he has to fulfill, and it becomes an obligation from the Torah to fulfill it, unless, of course, he cancels the vow. And by the way, that is why before we start the prayers of Yom Kippur, there is the very famous prayer of Kal Nidre, that before we start anything, we do the Kal Nidre, and basically it's a cancellation of the vows. In case we made a vow we did not fulfill, we sort of cancel them and nullify them. So the mouth that has made that vow and did not fulfill it is now released from that vow and is able to pray and use the mouth to pray to Hashem in a state of purity and a state of having not been in a situation where vow was made and not fulfilled. So that's why the Kal Nidre is that prayer that cancels any vows that were made in the year before. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.